In a small town nestled in the heart of the countryside, a young woman named Lily was moving into her new home. She had always dreamed of living in a peaceful and idyllic place, away from the hustle and bustle of the city. As she drove her car through the winding roads, she couldn't help but feel a sense of excitement and anticipation. Lily had inherited a small cottage from her grandmother, who had recently passed away. She had fond memories of visiting her grandmother as a child and spending long summer days exploring the nearby woods and fields. Now, as she pulled up to her new home, she felt a pang of nostalgia mixed with the excitement of starting a new chapter in her life. The cottage was quaint and cozy, with a thatched roof and a small garden filled with wildflowers. Lily couldn't wait to start making it her own, decorating it with vintage furniture and filling it with the books she had collected over the years. As she unpacked her boxes, she couldn't help but notice the silence that surrounded her. It was a far cry from the noise and chaos of the city, but she found it comforting. The only sounds were the rustling of leaves and the chirping of birds outside. Lily decided to take a walk around the town, eager to explore her new surroundings. She wandered through the cobbled streets, admiring the old houses and quaint little shops. As she turned a corner, she stumbled upon a small park, with a fountain at its center. She sat down on a nearby bench and closed her eyes, listening to the sound of the water trickling down the fountain. In that moment, Lily knew that she had made the right decision in moving to this new town. She felt a sense of tranquility and peace that she had never experienced before. The rhythm of the town, slow and steady, was a welcome change from the constant noise and rush of the city. As the sun began to set, Lily headed back to her cottage, feeling a sense of contentment wash over her. She knew that this new town would become her home, and she was excited to see what the future held. As Lily settled into her new life in the small town, she noticed a strange rhythm to the place. At first, she couldn't quite put her finger on it, but soon she began to feel a sense of unease that she couldn't explain. The town was always quiet, but it was a different kind of quiet than she had experienced before. It was as if the town was holding its breath, waiting for something to happen. The streets were empty, and the houses were dark, giving the impression that the town was abandoned. As Lily walked through the town, she noticed strange occurrences. Sometimes, she would see a shadow darting around a corner, but when she turned to look, there was no one there. Other times, she would hear a faint whispering in her ear, but when she turned around, there was no one there. The town's eerie atmosphere was palpable, and Lily began to feel as though she was being watched. She tried to shake off the feeling, but it only grew stronger. One day, Lily decided to visit the local library to research the history of the town. As she delved into the archives, she discovered that the town had a dark past. A century ago, a group of witches had been burned at the stake in the town square, accused of practicing dark magic. Since that day, strange occurrences had been reported in the town, and many of the locals believed that the witches had cursed the town with their dying breaths. Lily couldn't believe what she was reading, but as she walked back to her cottage, she couldn't shake off the feeling that something was watching her. She quickened her pace, her heart beating faster with each step. As she reached her cottage, she saw a shadow darting around the corner of the house. She hesitated for a moment, then took a deep breath and rounded the corner, ready to confront whatever was waiting for her. But there was no one there. The town was silent once again, and Lily was left alone with her thoughts and the strange rhythm of the town. She knew that she had to be cautious, that there was something dark and dangerous lurking in the shadows. But she couldn't help feeling drawn to the town, to its eerie atmosphere and the mystery that surrounded it. As Lily continued to live in the small town, she found herself growing increasingly uneasy and suspicious of the town's history. The strange occurrences she had witnessed only added to her sense of unease, and she couldn't help but feel that there was something sinister lurking beneath the surface. Lily began to do more research into the town's past, and she discovered that there were many dark secrets hidden within its history. She learned about the witch trials that had taken place centuries ago, and she couldn't help but wonder if the town was still cursed by the witches' dying curses. She also learned about a series of mysterious disappearances that had occurred in the town over the years. People would vanish without a trace, and no one could explain what had happened to them. As she delved deeper into the town's history, Lily began to feel as though she was being watched. She would hear strange noises outside her window at night, and she would see shadows moving in the corners of her eyes. Lily tried to ignore her growing sense of unease, but it was impossible. She felt as though the town was closing in on her, suffocating her with its eerie atmosphere and dark secrets. One night, Lily decided to take a walk through the town to clear her mind. As she walked, she felt a chill run down her spine. She could feel eyes on her, watching her every move. Suddenly, she heard a voice whisper her name. She spun around, but there was no one there. She was alone in the dark, with only the sound of her own breathing to keep her company. Lily began to run, her heart pounding in her chest. She didn't stop until she reached her cottage, and she locked the door behind her, feeling more scared and alone than she ever had before. From that moment on, Lily knew that she had to leave the town. She couldn't ignore the growing sense of danger that surrounded her, and she knew that if she stayed, she might never leave. The rhythm of the town had become too eerie, too dark, and too dangerous for her to stay. As Lily continued to feel uneasy and suspicious of the small town's dark history, she stumbled upon an abandoned house that was rumored to be haunted. The house had been emptied for years, and the locals avoided it at all costs. Despite the warnings, Lily couldn't resist the urge to explore. She felt drawn to the house, as if there was something inside that was calling to her. As she approached the house, she felt a sense of dread wash over her. The house was dark and foreboding, with broken windows and an overgrown garden. But she couldn't turn back now. She had to know what was inside. Lily pushed open the creaky door and stepped inside. The air was musty and stale, and the floorboards creaked beneath her feet. As she walked through the house, she felt a strange presence watching her. She explored the empty rooms, but she found nothing out of the ordinary. That was until she reached the basement. As she descended the rickety stairs, she felt a cold breeze blow past her, and she heard a faint whispering in her ear. Lily's heart was pounding as she reached the bottom of the stairs. The basement was dark and damp, with cobwebs covering the walls. But there was something else there, something that she couldn't see. Suddenly, she heard a loud thud, and she spun around to face the source of the noise. That was when she saw it, a ghostly figure standing in front of her, its eyes glowing with an otherworldly light. Lily wanted to run, to flee the house and never look back. But she couldn't move. She was frozen in fear, watching as the ghostly figure approached her. As it drew closer, Lily felt a sense of peace wash over her. The ghostly figure was not here to harm her. It was there to show her something, to guide her towards the truth. Lily followed the ghostly figure through the house, and she saw things that she could never have imagined. She saw the town's dark history, the secrets that had been hidden for centuries. And she knew that she had to leave the town, to break the rhythm of the curse that had haunted it for so long. As she left the abandoned house, Lily felt a sense of calm wash over her. She knew that she had found what she had been looking for, and that she had to leave the town before it was too late. The rhythm of the town was a dangerous one, and she knew that if she stayed, she might never leave. As Lily entered the abandoned house, she felt a strange energy in the air. The house was silent, but she could feel a presence watching her. As she walked through the dusty rooms, she heard strange noises, creaking floorboards, whispered voices, and the sound of footsteps in the distance. Despite her growing unease, she continued to explore, determined to uncover the secrets of the house. As she descended the stairs to the basement, the air grew colder, and she felt a shiver run down her spine. She could hear her own breathing echoing in the darkness, and she wondered if she was truly alone. Suddenly, she heard a strange humming noise. It was low and rhythmic, like the beat of a drum. She followed the sound, and soon she found herself standing in front of an old record player. The record player was covered in dust, but it was still playing a record. The music was eerie and haunting, and as Lily listened, she felt a sense of dread wash over her. As she turned to leave, she heard footsteps behind her. She spun around, but there was no one there. The footsteps continued, growing louder and more urgent. Lily began to run, her heart pounding in her chest. She could hear the footsteps chasing her, and she knew that she had to get out of the house before it was too late. As she burst through the door, she saw a ghostly figure standing in front of her. Its eyes glowed with an otherworldly light, and it seemed to be beckoning her towards it. Lily hesitated for a moment, then she took a deep breath and approached the figure. As she drew closer, she could see that it was the ghost of a young girl, her eyes filled with sadness. The ghostly girl led Lily through the house, showing her strange and disturbing visions. Lily saw the town's dark history, the witches who had been burned at the stake, and the curse that had been placed upon the town. Suddenly, the ghostly girl disappeared, and Lily was left standing alone in the empty house. She knew that she had to leave the town, to break the rhythm of the curse before it was too late. The strange noises and occurrences she had experienced in the house had shown her the truth, and she was determined to act upon it. As Lily continued her investigation of the small town's dark history, she stumbled upon the ghost of one of its former inhabitants. The ghost appeared to her in the middle of the night, as she was walking through the deserted streets. At first, Lily was terrified by the ghostly figure. It was pale and translucent, its eyes filled with a deep sadness. But as the ghost spoke to her, Lily began to feel a sense of compassion. The ghost explained that it was one of the town's former inhabitants, a woman who had lived there many years ago. She had been accused of witchcraft and burned at the stake, and her spirit had been trapped in the town ever since. As the ghost spoke, Lily could feel the pain and sadness in its voice. She knew that she had to help the ghost, to free it from its eternal torment. Together, Lily and the ghost began to explore the town. The ghost showed her the places where the witches had been burned, and the spots where the town's dark history had played out. As they walked, Lily began to feel a deep connection to the ghost. She could sense its pain and suffering, and she knew that she had to do something to help it. Finally, they reached the town square, the site of the witch trials. The ghost explained that it was here that she had been burned at the stake, accused of practicing dark magic. Lily could feel the weight of the town's dark history bearing down on her. She knew that she had to break the curse, to free the ghost and the other trapped souls from their eternal torment. With a deep sense of determination, Lily began to chant a spell, calling upon the power of the elements to break the curse. As she chanted, she could feel the energy of the town shifting, as if something was breaking free. Suddenly, the ghostly figure disappeared, and Lily was left standing alone in the town square. For a moment, the town was silent, as if holding its breath. Then, the silence was broken by the sound of birds chirping and the gentle rustle of leaves in the wind. The curse had been broken, and the town was free from its dark past. As Lily turned to leave the town, she knew that she had accomplished something truly great. She had broken the rhythm of the curse, freed the trapped souls and given the town a chance of a brighter future.